Hello and welcome to On the Bench Extra, the local football show where we look at local football. Joining me on the sofa today is former Grimsby Town manager Alan Buckley and the man who wrote his book, Paul Thundercliffe, and of course we have our regular pundit Tom Hardy, slightly more clean shaven. Coming up on the show we have highlights from the game against Altrincham at the weekend, and we've dug out a classic from when Alan was in charge against Nottingham Forest. Don't forget we are on social media as well, so get in touch with the show. So no introduction needed, Alan. Just your thoughts on Grimsby Town's season so far.
Been a bit indifferent. They started reasonably well, I think, until the two fantastic away wins, Wrexham and the other one, whoever it was anyway, Torquay. Yeah. You know, I thought they were looking over the shoulders a little bit. You know, things were looking a bit dodgy, but they had two terrific away results. From then on, they've kicked on very, very well, so and they're in a terrific position.
Definitely looking more positive now.
Definitely, no doubt about it.
Paul, would you agree with Alan's assessment of the season so far?
Yeah, it was a bit stodgy at the start, really, of the season. We weren't really winning games we should have done, particularly at home, particularly to teams near the bottom. But there's certainly a more winning mentality. I don't think it's as attacking as I'd like it. I think we could score more goals and need to score more goals. But yeah, on the up.
Hardy, and obviously we know your thoughts on the club's season so far, but again, that draw at Altrincham, good result?
Now disappointing. I said last week that I thought Town should have won it. It should be the games of winning. I think that's 2 points from 6 against Altrincham, which is a little bit disappointing, especially they're 18th in the table as well.
Yeah, fantastic. So Alan, we'll come back to you then. Just your career as a manager, any standout moments for you, any standout results?
Well, I mean, there's a few obviously. You know, done about 1,200 games as a manager from the age of 28.
Yeah.
The fantastic cup runs at Walsall, a Milk Cup run there in 83, 84, where we ended up playing Liverpool over 2 legs in the semi-final of the Milk Cup, which is the Carling Cup now, is it?
Yeah, it is,
yeah, fantastic away performances, winning at Arsenal. Obviously at Grimsby when I first came, you know, we won away at Middlesbrough against all the odds. Fantastic in my first season, where we've just started to get things going a little bit then. And since then, obviously, there's been some fantastic results, seasons, overall seasons even, not just results, but it's been a fantastic spell, yeah.
Who would you say has been your best signing, you know, at any club as a manager?
Snakes at West Brom was an outstanding player, but he was very arrogant, thought he could do everybody's job better than themselves. Grovesy was a fantastic signing for the number of games and the amount of goals he scored and the sort of lad he was fantastic. 1 or 2 players I inherited, you know, like Macca, Kevin Donovan and people, and Paul Futcher. I mean, there's been so many terrific players that played under me.
Fantastic.
But Futch came here, his career was in tatters.
We'll come back to that, Alan. Thank you for that. Lots of players there. So, turning our attention to the latest results from the weekend. Due to the international break, both Hull and Scunthorpe weren't in action, so the latest results are still that 1-0 loss at Turf Moor for Hull and that FA Cup victory for Scunthorpe. Grimsby were in action last weekend at Altrincham, and despite Nathan Arnold's strike, Altrincham found a breakthrough late on. It finished 1-1. Both meetings this season have ended in draws. North Ferriby were also in action midweek at Bradford Park Avenue. Again, the points were shared and this game finished 1-1. The Villagers are 10th in the table and sit 5 points from the playoffs. So, heartbreak for Grimsby late on. Alan, obviously more critical than most as a manager, I suppose. You know, what do you make of that game?
A disappointing result. As I said earlier, they've had a terrific spell of results, and you're going to Altrincham, not the best placed team in the league, and you expect to beat them. Yeah,
should they have done better then when they conceded that goal late on?
Well, I think really if you concede and you're away from, if you score and you're winning 1-0 away from home, you don't try and make it 2 and things like that. You don't sit back. You want to get possession of the ball and keep it in their half and really frustrate the opposition.
Yeah, Paul, you said before the show that wasn't offside. I have to agree. I don't think it was.
You know, I think John Lewis has been a revelation last few weeks, and it was a nice header, good ball in. I can see why it was given, but you know, I don't think it was. And I think had he got that goal, maybe another one after that would have been a win.
Yeah, Hardy, that result then, was that 2 points dropped or was that a point gained, having drawn at Blundell Park as well?
Massively, yeah. Like I said before, it's definitely 2 points dropped. The defence, we said, needed to squeeze out a bit more. They should have closed down the cross as well. Shouldn't have come into the box. Too easy.
So we look back at Scunthorpe's then. Was that obviously an FA Cup result, but how do you see their season so far, Hardy?
Well, done okay in the Cups so far. They had some decent results in the Capital One Cup at the start of the season as well, some decent performances. And in the league, starting to improve a little bit. Obviously had no game last week, but hopefully they can get out of that relegation zone and move up the table.
Yeah, Alan, obviously a break for Scunthorpe. Obviously that game against MK Dons was postponed. So, you know, that FA Cup result, how good is that for Scunthorpe?
I think it's a good FA Cup result, to be honest with you. You know, Forest Green are no mugs.
Yeah.
They're a lovely playing surface down there. A well-placed conference side. They say there's not much gap between the leagues nowadays. And I thought it's a banana skin for them, don't forget. Scunthorpe and Forest Green. Yeah. And they got themselves a good result.
Again, quickly, Paul, that loss for Hull at Turf Moor, how disappointed would they be with that?
Yeah, we're disappointed. I think Hull they had a couple of good results, didn't they? Arsenal and you know, I think almost they went there expecting maybe to get a result. And you know, the Premier League, as Steve Bruce said, it's a difficult league, and every point you know, it has to be earned. And,
yeah, definitely.
Do that.
I agree, Paul. Thank you. So Greg's been at it again, and he's given me and Hardy another tricky question for our challenge this week. So take a look at this. In 30 seconds, can you name any of the 23 managers to have managed over 1,000 games?
Sir Alex Ferguson, Lenny Lawrence, Arsene Wenger, Brian Clough, Bill Shankly, John Toshack, what else have we got? John Gregory,
Thanks, Greg, for that question. We'll see the next part in the second part of the show. So, Alan, a bit of a legend amongst Grimsby Town fans, they've sent in some questions for you. So, GTFC Matt said on Twitter, which of the current Town players would you pick in the Wembley double team and why, if any?
No, nobody would get in that team.
No, any particular reasons?
They're not good enough to get in that team.
I love your honesty. Thanks, Alan. Got another one. This is from @DS_Humphrey on Twitter. Who is your favourite current Town player and why?
I like Sean Pearson. Not elegant, not very smooth to watch, but I'll tell you, he gives everything he's got for that football club. And I think whenever Sean's not there, they miss him. And I do like Nielsen. I mean, he's a bit of a maverick, bit of a one-off, not very consistent, but he can produce an extra bit of something. I like skillful players.
So Scott and Sean?
Just about, yeah.
Thank you very much, Alan. Coming up in part 2 of the show, we take a trip down memory lane and see a 7-goal thriller from the days when Alan was in charge. But just before we do, I'm going to ask you, Hardy, your most memorable game for Grimsby Town.
I wrote this one for the Grimsby programme. It was a 6-5 win over Burnley. It was on Halloween, and I can't remember exactly what year it was, but it was an absolute stonking game.
Was that a devilish fixture?
Oh, it was ghoulish.
Any standout moments from that game?
11 goals. 11 goals. It was brilliant. Loads of goals. Loads of fun.
It's not often you see that, is it?
Exactly.
Anything else?
Anything else?
Crowd, atmosphere?
A Town win. The atmosphere was brilliant. It was absolutely freezing cold, but the place was absolutely bouncing. It was, yeah, good old days at Blundell Park.
Thank you, Hardy. Good memory. So, this week's half-time teaser then is who scored the winner for Hull City the last time they beat Tottenham in 2008? See you after the break. Welcome back to Extra. Before the break, I asked you who scored the winner for Hull City the last time they played Tottenham in 2008, and it was, of course, Giovanni. Congratulations if you got that at home. Coming up in part 2, we have highlights from a classic game when Alan was in charge, but first, let's check out the second part of this week's challenge. In 30 seconds, can you name any of the 23 managers to have managed over 1,000 games? Sir Alex Ferguson, is Nigel Clough, Brian Clough, Bobby Robson, Bobby Charlton, Gary Speed. That's difficult, that's tough. Jose Mourinho, Kenny Dalglish. Thanks again, Greg, for that challenge. I'm sure we'll have another hard one next week. So this is the part of the show, chaps, where we talk about a current football manager, and we're going to look at Pochettino at Tottenham. We mentioned him a few weeks back on the show, but again, he's under criticism. Alan, is this fair criticism? Does he deserve this?
Well, I think it's a bit unfair, actually. He hasn't been there that long. The lad's only been in this country, 18 months. I thought he did a fantastic job at Southampton. Different level now, different expectation at Tottenham.
It's gone up.
Big club, massive club. He does need to put his own stamp on it. But I'll tell you what, football managers don't get a honeymoon period nowadays. Supporters are very demanding, you know, and they expect to see a club like that winning all the time.
Yeah, Paul, they don't get that chance really, do they now? They want to hit the ground running. Do you agree with Alan? Is it
I do to a point. I'd like to have seen him stay at Southampton, I think.
Yeah.
I think he was doing some great things there, and I think he maybe just misjudged how different it was going to be there. As Alan said, the fans are very different, very demanding, whereas Southampton were just happy, I think, to do well. So, you know, I'm pleased Southampton's still doing well with him not being there. It proves that he had a legacy to do that. But I'm not sure whether he'll get the time. I think the next few games are difficult, and potentially, you know, he might not be there come the new year.
Yeah, Hardy, his next games are actually, in fact, Hull, Everton, Chelsea, Palace and Swansea. Now, at Tottenham, a couple of seasons back, would be expected to probably win those games. What do you feel now for them?
He should be getting about 3 or 4 wins from those games. Obviously, said the Chelsea game, you wouldn't expect him to win, but this season's just been same old Tottenham. They just let the fans down all the time. Daniel Levy, he's not got a lot of patience with managers, so it wouldn't surprise me if he eventually loses his patience. Like Paul said, I'd have liked to have seen Pochettino stay at Southampton.
Yeah,
he did a brilliant job. Did a really good job, built up a great team. It's obviously good to see Koeman doing a good job there as well, but nice to see Pochettino doing his interviews in English now as well.
Yeah, that's great, yeah. Alan, obviously they sit 12th in the Premier League. They shouldn't be finishing there, should they? They should be at least top 8, definitely.
Well, Tottenham are a top 8 club, aren't they? But, you know, you've got to win your games to be like that. I disagree with these. I think if Pochettino's did a fantastic job at Southampton, Tottenham are a cut above. No disrespect to Southampton.
Yeah.
And if he's got anything about him, he's got to take the challenge of Tottenham.
Yeah, fantastic. Thank you, Alan. So, we'll take that trip down memory lane now, and here's a game of Alan's against Nottingham Forest from January 2000. So, what was it like looking back at that, Alan, just briefly?
Fantastic days. You know, these gentlemen here are on about the away fans. And if you're playing Manchester City and Blackburn Rovers and Wolves and the Sheffield clubs, and you are going to get big gates, you know, and we were competing against those teams, and certainly when the ball were on the floor, we weren't inferior to anybody in that league.
Thank you. It was nice looking back at that. So if we look at the upcoming fixtures this weekend, Premier League action resumes as Hull, they host Tottenham. This fixture last season ended 1-1. Scunthorpe United travel to Crawley Town hoping for all 3 points against a mid-table side only 4 points better off. The previous meeting saw the Iron win 2-1. Grimsby host Kidderminster looking to continue their recent form and further secure their position. This fixture last season ended 3-1 to the Mariners. And finally, North Ferriby travel to Lowestoft Town in a Conference North fixture. All 3 points will be beneficial to playoff aspirations. So that's the fixtures this weekend. So we'll talk about the book. Obviously, you wrote the book.
I did.
Obviously, it's Alan's sort of story. So talk us through the process of writing that, Paul.
It was a strange process in the sense where I'm trying to be Alan when I'm writing it. So what would happen is I'd go to his house, he's very welcoming, and we'd just chat. And I'd ask him the question, as you have today, and luckily today he's just answered it within a minute. You know, some of these questions I would ask would take hours. But what you'd get from that is his fantastic stories. So we'd do that, we'd write the story, I'd write the chapters, we'd come back, and then what I realised we had was something that Grimsby fans had never heard, which was how Alan felt about a lot of the past, a lot of the, you know, because Alan at the time perhaps didn't let the fans know just what he was thinking and feeling. So what came out of the book was a sense of how he felt about a lot of things. But the best moment when doing it all, and we had a great time doing it, I think, was his wife read it, Amanda, and she thought he'd written it. So for me, that's the biggest sort of compliment I could have, really, that I'd found his voice, if you like, and written it. But I think it does him a great service. It's not what's the word? It doesn't have to attack anybody. It doesn't have a go at him. It just tells the truth, and And the reaction last year when it first came out was fantastic, and we decided to make it available again, and obviously it's available for people to buy.
How was that for you, Alan, taking a trip down memory lane even further?
Fantastic, you know, as Paul said, it used to prick me conscience really, what about this, what about that, and while things were coming into my mind, I just used to elaborate, and then after about 10 minutes go back to the first question he asked anyway, you know, but that's the way it was. Paul were very patient, and I think the way he went about it was absolutely brilliant, and when you see the finished article and the fact that they all sold out within a couple of months, the first issue, is it, Paul?
That's right, yeah.
You know, very proud about that. Very proud.
That is good. Hardy as well. Do you want to just pick the book up and just?
I certainly can.
Show
a great
fans?
read as well. A
so,
fantastic
Hardy,
read.
for you, if you was a football manager being probed, you know, would you find that difficult?
Yeah, definitely. But I think, like Alan said, it was nice for him to get his point across, to tell the fans how it was and how it is now and what he's getting on with. But that was my holiday reading last year. I read that book and I read Palos, and compliments, that one was better.
Oh, well,
I'm not just saying that because they're on the show either.
Well, maybe we should get Palo on and then. So
my wife would quite like Palo to come on the programme, by the way, yeah. You mean the Italian lad?
So,
yeah.
Do we see any further books coming out?
Well, Paul keeps on about, you know, we tried to get everything in that one.
Yeah.
And it's not evil. I've just told it like it was, the truth. We haven't really elaborated about anything. If people are interested, then they'll read it. If they're not, well, they're not going to read it, are they? But I really enjoyed working with Paul on it, but I had the easy part. He did all the hard work.
Yeah, just that's what the fans want to hear, the truth. Just before we go, a couple of questions, Alan. Kevin Donovan passes on his regards to you. He's been in touch with the show, but he says, if you were still a manager and money was no object, which 3 English players would you sign now for Grimsby?
Difficult to pick English ones. The Premiership's full of foreigners, isn't it? I'd have Daniel Sturridge for a start, and then I'd have to think about the rest.
Thank you, Alan. So that's all we have time for this week. Time has beaten us. We're back Saturdays at 10 o'clock. And if you want all other sports stories, you can watch On the Bench Tuesdays at 7. Thank you to Alan, Paul and Hardy for coming on to the show. And you can get in touch with the show on social media, Facebook, Twitter and email. So for now, it's goodbye.